Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Teen Book Tuesday. My name is Lorie, and I'm the teen librarian at Manlius Library. I'm coming to you today from my living room, and I have a stack. Actually, I have two stacks of brand new books in the teen room to go through and see what we've got. So let's see what's new. The first one I have is a graphic novel, and it's Sleeping Beauties, a graphic novel, part 1, written by Stephen King and Owen King. And that's the author, Stephen King, and his son, the author, Owen King. And illustrated by Rio Yours, Allison Sampson, and Triona Farrell. The official graphic novel adaptation of Stephen and Owen King's Sleeping Beauties is a haunting interpretation of the chilling, timely New York Times bestselling novel. A bizarre sleeping sickness called Aurora has fallen over the world. Its victims can't wake up, and all of its victims are women. As nations fall into chaos, those women still awake take desperate measures to stay that way, and men everywhere begin to give in to their darkest impulses. Meanwhile, in the small town of Dooling, a mysterious woman has walked out of the woods. She calls herself Eve and leaves a trail of carnage in her wake. Strangest of all, she's the only woman who can wake up. So it's Stephen King and Owen King's Sleeping Beauties. There's the cover. And it's a graphic novel. It's going to be pretty intense. So for older teens, if you like horror, this is the graphic novel for you. And it's part 1, so there's going to be at least a part 2 coming. All right, next up, something completely different. A Faux Love Story by Lorie Lee. And there it is. This is realistic fiction. If Bao had to describe himself, he'd say he was a rock. Steady and strong, but not particularly interesting. His grades are average, his social status is unremarkable. He works at his parents' faux restaurant, and even there, he is his parents' 5th favorite employee. Not ideal. If Lynn had to describe herself, she'd say she was a firecracker. Stable when unlit, but full of potential for joy and spark and fire. She loves art and dreams of pursuing a career in it. The only problem? Her parents rely on her in ways they're not willing to admit, including working practically full-time at her family's faux restaurant. For years, the Mais and the Nguyen's have been at odds, having owned competing neighboring faux restaurants. Bao and Lynn, who've avoided each other for most of their lives, both suspect that the feud stems from feelings much deeper than friendly competition. A chance encounter brings Lynn and Bao into the same vicinity despite their best efforts, and sparks fly, leading them both to wonder what took them so long to connect. But then, of course, they immediately remember. Can Lynn and Bao find love in the midst of feuding families and complicated histories? So that's A Faux Love Story by Lorie Lee. And it's told in alternating chapters, back and forth between the two main characters, Lynn and Bao. Looks good and sounds delicious. Next up, Lost in the Neverwoods by Aidan Thomas, and that has a lovely cover. This is by the author of The Cemetery Boys, which was one of my favorite horror books, creepy, not terrifying, but creepy horror books last year. Let's see what this one's about. When children go missing, people want answers. It's been 5 years since Wendy and her 2 brothers vanished into the woods near the small coastal town of Astoria, Oregon. Wendy returned with no memory of where she had been or what happened to her. Her brothers did not. When the town's children start to disappear, the mystery around her brothers is brought back into the light, and the police are once again knocking on Wendy's door for answers. Attempting to flee her past, Wendy almost runs over an unconscious boy lying in the middle of the road. Peter, a boy she thought lived only in her stories, asks for Wendy's help to rescue the missing kids. But in order to find them, Wendy must confront what's waiting for her in the woods. So this is a creepy retelling, sort of Peter Pan. And that is Lost in the Neverwoods, Something sinister waits within the trees. And that's by Aidan Thomas. Highly recommend anything by Aidan Thomas. Next we have The Extraordinaries by Tj Cloon. Some people are extraordinary. Some are just extra. And there's the cover. Nick Bell is not extraordinary. But being the most popular fan fiction writer in the Extraordinaries fandom isn't a bad start. While masked heroes with superpowers perform real feats of bravery amid the clouds and in the shadows of his city, Nick is satisfied writing fictional stories about their heroic and romantic exploits, which he fondly posts online instead of finishing his homework. That is, until a chance encounter with Shadow Star, Nova City's mightiest hero, and Nick's biggest crush, changes everything. Nick is no longer satisfied writing about heroes. He wants to become one. So he sets out to make himself something more, something extraordinary. Full of valiant adventures, thrilling twists, queer romance, and laugh-out-loud humor, this is the beginning of a remarkable story about a fanboy with ADHD and the heroes he loves. And that's The Extraordinaries by Tj Cloon. So if you are watching any of the new series on Disney, or you're into either the Marvel or the DC universe, or you just like a good book about a superhero wannabe, that would be a good one for you. Speaking of Disney, there is a new book by Maureen Johnson called Hello, Cruel Heart, and it is the story of Cruella. And on the back it says, once upon a time, she tried being good. Before she becomes Cruella de Vil, ... Swinging London, summer 1967, 16-year-old Estella, gifted with talent, ingenuity, and ambition, dreams of becoming a renowned fashion designer. That makes sense. But life seems intent on making sure her dreams never come true. Having arrived in London as a young girl, Estella spends her days running wild through the cities with Jasper and Horace, amateur thieves who double as Estella's makeshift family and partners in crime. Also makes sense. How can Estella dedicate herself to joining the ranks of London's design elite when she's busy sewing endless costumes and disguises for the trio's heists? When a chance encounter with Magda and Richard Moresby Plum, two young scions of high society, vaults Estella into the world of the rich and famous, she begins to wonder whether she might be destined for more after all. Suddenly, Estella's days are filled with glamorous parties, exclusive eateries, flirtations with an up-and-coming rock star, and of course, the most cutting-edge fashions money can buy. But what is the cost of keeping up with the fast crowd? And is it a price Estella is willing to pay? So that's Hello, Cruel Heart. And that is the book about based on Disney's new Cruella movie, which I haven't seen. Maureen Johnson is fabulous. She wrote the Truly Devious series, as well as 13 Little Blue Envelopes, Sweet Scarlet, and The Name of the Star. But the Truly Devious is a fantastic series. So, all right. Oh, and right, she also wrote The Bone Chronicles with Cassandra Clare. All right. That's Cruella. Next up, I think this one is, oh yes, this one is also realistic fiction, mostly. It's called Zoe Rosenthal is Not Lawful Good by Nancy Werlin. And there's the cover. And the back has the lawful good chart that you see all over social media. Lawful good, neutral good, chaotic good, and then neutral, and then also evil, with all of the characters. Let's see. To do. It's a checklist. Lie. And it's checked off. Zoe Rosenthal might not know where she's going to college, but she knows that it'll be with her boyfriend Simon. Someplace with a good political science department for Simon, and a good financial aid package for him too. But before the applications are due, Zoe sneaks off to a science fiction convention for the second season premiere of her beloved show, Bleeders. But Simon can never know. He thinks Bleeders is trash and that Zoe should be as focused on saving the world as he is. Zoe intends on a single night of nerdery, but she falls in with a group of Bleeder fans. Bloody Gits, they're called. And one con leads to another, and another, and another. She's cheating on Simon with a TV show, of all things. Still, her plan for a future with him doesn't need to change, right? From best-selling award-winning author Nancy Werlin comes a charming, funny, honest story of an overachiever trying not to embrace her inner nerd and failing wonderfully. So this is a great, realistic fiction for anybody who is into fandoms or just trying to figure out where you are, who you are, and where you belong. And that's Zoe Rosenthal is Not Lawful Good by Nancy Werlin. And Nancy Werlin, she wrote The Rules of Survival and The Killer's Cousin. She's written some mystery suspense kind of books. And then Zoe Rosenthal is Not Lawful Good. She says, I just wanted to write about how great it feels to be with your heart friends. It does feel great to be with your heart friends. All right, what's next? Reaper of Souls. This is in a completely different direction, a completely different genre. It's a gorgeous cover. And the author is Rena Barron. She wrote Kingdom of Souls, so this is a sequel. A prince repelled by magic, a king bent on revenge, a witch doctor who does not walk alone. So Kingdom of Souls is the first one. I will tell you a little bit about this one. I don't want to give any spoilers for Kingdom of Souls. The magic Era wanted for so long is finally hers. That might be a little bit of a spoiler, but if you read the first book, you figure that's how it's going to go. But her new gifts came with too steep a price. Era is the last surviving witch doctor of the tribal lands, and she has been left alone to pick up the pieces of her family's betrayal, a kingdom plunged into chaos, and a love that can never be. The Demon King is far closer than she knows, and as they fight to unravel his schemes, one haunting truth emerges. The Demon King wants Era, and he will lay waste to anything or anyone standing between him. So if you like dark fantasy, that is a book for you. Reaper of Souls by Rena Barron. I recommend reading Kingdom of Souls first. Okay, I got a couple left. This one is called Maisie, and the author is Melanie Crowder. She also wrote Audacity and An Uninterrupted View of the Sky. This is also realistic fiction. Maisie has always longed to be on Broadway, but growing up in her small Nebraska town in 1959, that always seemed like an impossible dream. So when an opportunity presents itself to spend 6 weeks auditioning, Maisie jumps at the chance, leaving behind everything and everyone she's always known, that she's ever known. New York City is a shock to the senses. Thrilling, but lonely. Auditions are brutal. Maisie is homesick, and she misses the boyfriend whose heart she broke when she left. Nothing is as she expected. With money running out and faced with too many rejections to count, Maisie is more determined than ever to land a role. But when she discovers that booking a job might mean losing sight of herself, everything Maisie always thought she wanted is called into question. So that's realistic fiction about somebody who really, really just wants to be on Broadway and some of the sacrifices that you have to make to do that, and are they worth it? So that's Maisie by Melanie Crowder. And the last book, fiction book I have for you today is called Kate in Waiting, and it's the newest book by Becky Albertalli, who is also the author of The Upside of Unrequited, Simon versus the Homo Sapiens Agenda, Love Creekwood, Leah in the Offbeat, What If It's Us, and Yes, No, Maybe So. Very, very good popular author, popular and well-deserved. Contrary to popular belief, best friends Kate and Anderson are not codependent. Carpooling to and from theater rehearsals, environmentally sound and efficient. consulting each other on every single life decision, basic good judgment, pining for the same guys from afar. Shared crushes are more fun anyway. But when Kate and Andy's long-distance crush shows up at their school, everything goes off script. Matt Olson is talented and sweet, and Kate likes him. She really likes him. The only problem? So does Anderson. Turns out, communal crushes aren't so fun when real feelings are involved. This one might even bring the curtains down on Kate and Anderson's friendship. So that's realistic fiction about realistic romance. And that's called Kate in Waiting. It says break a leg, not your heart. Also, if you're interested in musical theater, along with Maisie, if you're interested in theater. Okay, the last thing I brought to show you today is actually a series of the cutest, tiniest books ever. Maybe not ever, but the cutest, tiniest books we have in the teen room. The series is called The Pocket Change Collective, and each one is just a little bit of information about a particular topic. These are the ones we have in. There are more. We have more, and there are more on order that are coming in all the time. This one is called Beyond the Gender Binary. Is it really a choice when you don't get to select the options you are given to begin with? So there's Beyond the Gender Binary. Taking on the Plastics Crisis. We cannot sit idly while plastic continues to wash up on our beaches and into animals' mouths and our own bodies. So that's Taking on the Plastics Crisis. Each one deals with an issue that is extremely current, and they're very well written. This is what I know about art. This is my story about loving art so much that you want to see it change for the better. And they deal with these issues in positive ways, which I really like. The New Queer Conscience. Queer people anywhere are responsible for queer people everywhere. After all, wouldn't you want someone to fight for you? So that's The New Queer Conscience. Imaginary Borders. Scientists project that we have a decade to reduce the greatest impacts of our climate crisis. These are about to be the wildest 10 years of our lives. Imaginary Borders. And that one's about climate change and the crisis that the whole world is facing. And finally, Concrete Kids. This has the best cover. I just love the cover of this book. And the back says, "This is for the concrete kids with a melanin kiss." So that is the Pocket Change Collective. And those are nonfiction books. I haven't quite, they're all brand new, so they're still shelved in the teen room with the new books. I haven't decided quite where they're going to go. I don't want them to get lost, so time will tell. And like I said, there's more that are checked out, and there's more on order. So there you go. Stacks of new books available in the teen room. If you saw something you liked, go over to our website at manliuslibrary.org and put it on hold. And then you can either come in and get it or arrange for curbside service. We are now open full hours, Monday through Thursday from 10 a.m. to 9 p.m., Friday and Saturday from 10 to 5. We're still closed on Sundays. So you can pop into the teen room and check out one of these or anything else that we have. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you found something you might be interested in reading. I know I did. My name is Lorie. I'm the teen librarian at Manlius Library, and you can find me here on our YouTube channel every single Tuesday at 2 o'clock for more new teen book news, reading suggestions, and other bookish information. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you next week. Happy reading.